Cost Accountants of India for his kind time beside his many other busy schedule and knowledge sharing regards the cost audit in pharmaceutical sector. No doubt this is indeed the expression of love and affection of ICAI for ICMB. We also find Institute of Cost Accountants of India beside us in time of need and every development of our CMA profession. I also like to express heartfelt gratitude to Honorable Chairman of today's session, Mr. Ruhul Amin FCMA, former Vice President of ICMB. I must express my heartfelt gratitude to Honorable Chairman of Cost Audit and Professional Service Consultancy Cell, past President of the Institute and present Council Member Shaikul Islam. I believe today's session will enrich the knowledge of the participants in cost audit. I am confident that today's workshop on cost audit in pharmaceutical sector will act as an effective knowledge sharing platform on cost audit mechanism, tools and techniques. It will definitely help participants from the industry to get a deeper insight into the best practices in the cost audit domain adopted globally. I also wish Institute of Cost Accountant of India will continue its support to ICMB also. Last but not the least, thanks to the Honorable today's moderators, my beloved members of the Institute, Mr. G. M. Omar Farooq Choudhury, FCMA, former Chairman of Dhaka Branch Council. I do not prolong my speech. Thank you once again. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Honorable President of the Institute, Mr. Mohammad Jasimuddin Arkan, FCMA. Will not take time for the session. Today, we have a right person, right cost and management accountant, very knowledgeable, Mr. Ruhul Amin, FCMA. He was the vice president of this institute. Now he is working as a chief industrial consultant in Ruhul Amin and Company. Now, I would like to request Mr. Ruhul Amin, FCMA, to chair the session and take the next part of the session. Mr. Ruhul Amin, FCMA.
For giving me an opportunity to address this August occasion, the workshop series on cost audit. First of all, I would like to thank Mr. Jasimuddin Arkan, the president of the institute, today's presenter of cost audit in pharmaceutical industry, Mr. CMA Dr. Ashish Thate, Prakash. Then I would like to Mr. Bakar Siddiqui, I think he is not here, the vice president of the institute, and Mr. Shaikul Islam. Very good evening to you once again, and for your opening speech. I liked it very much. After a long time, I am here to address a very burning issue of cost audit, its implication and its implementation in this region. Before I do that, I would like to introduce Mr. Ashish Thate Prakash. let me read out from his written biography. CMA, Dr. Ashish Thate, is a renowned cost and management accountant in India. I think not only in India, but also in the subcontinent. He started his career as CMA in leading pharma manufacturing company, Abbott India Limited. After winning first managing director's award in the hands of managing director of the company for exceptional performance, Mr. Thate decided to find himself in big world as teaching professional. He worked as professor in leading management institutions like Chitana and Indira Group of institutions. Also, he was associated as visiting faculty in management colleges like ITM, ICFAI, IFEEL, etc. Mr. Ashish has conducted numerous webinars, seminars, and workshops for professional institutions at various locations across the country. He has conducted number of webinars and corporate trainings for quite a few number of companies in and around India. Besides, he has given professional talks in countries outside India too. CMA, Dr. Ashish Thate, completed his master's and cost accounting degrees before he joined corporate. After stepping into teaching role, he successfully completed his studies for Doctor of Philosophy from prestigious Symbiosis International deemed university. He is presently a partner in leading cost and management accounting firm Joshi Apte, and associates specializes in cost audits, cost management, internal audits, designing MIS, evaluations, etc. Mr. Ashish Thate is popular for appearing on national and local television channels, expressing his views on income tax, GST, and economic matters. He also writes articles for local newspaper, which are quite popular. His scholarly articles are published by magazines across the country and also around the world. He is also a youngest chairman of Western India region of the Institute of Cost Accountants of India. Presently, he is a member of Central Council of the Institute of Cost Accountants of India for the year 2019 to 2023. Mr. Ashish is chairman of Corporate Laws Committee for the year 2021. He has been chairman of International Committee on Cost Auditing and Assurance Standards Boards for the year 2019 and 2020. He is a member of Member Development Committee (MDC) of the Confederation of Asian and Pacific Accountants (CAPA) for the period 2020 to 2023. Besides all his activities, Mr. Thate is a national and international level player and has won many medals for individual, teams, and the country as well. He is also an internationally rated chess player in India. This is all about a brief about Mr. Thate, who is our today's paper presenter.
রিকোয়েস্ট করেন যে পেপারটা প্রেজেন্ট
I would now request the paper presenter to present his paper. Thank you all.
Oh yes, I was okay. Yeah, can you see the screen now?
Yes, 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 yes.
Yes. Okay.
Yes, yes, we can see.
Yes, yes. We
Yes,
can
thank
see
you.
you, we can hear you, no problem.
Yeah. So, I think there is echo. You need to mute all others so that otherwise it will come as echo. So thank you so much to all of you. Uh, sorry, I'm very poor in names. Please just put on. Yeah. Okay. So, President of Institute of Cost and Management Accountants of Bangladesh, Mohammad Jasimuddin Akon. Uh, uh, my friend Abu Bakr Siddiqui, who is not present right now, so in absentia, Vice President of ICMAB. We also have Mr. GM Omar Farooq Chowdhury, FCMA MBA, former Chairman of Dhaka Branch of Council of ICMAB. We also have Abu Sayyid Muhammad Shakul Islam, FCMA, Council Member and past President of ICMAB. And very thankful to Mr. Ruhul Amin for the introduction which he has given, Chief Industrial Accountant of Ruhul Amin and Company. So I'm very thankful to Institute of Cost and Management Accountants of Bangladesh, ICMAB. On behalf of the Institute of Cost Accountants of India, I would like to definitely give my regards to all of you, because as what one of the speakers says, that nowadays suddenly pharmaceutical companies has come into the picture, because they are going to come up with the vaccine in India. Yesterday itself, or maybe day before yesterday, for 2nd January, we got a good news from our government saying that 2 of the vaccines are now approved, and the cost of those vaccines which has been decided for the government, the first vaccine which has been developed by the Oxford here in the Serum Institute, which has been decided, is between 215 to 249 rupees, Indian rupees, correct? And the other vaccine price which has not been decided, and the same vaccine developed by Serum Institute, having 215 to 249 rupees as the price for the government. For the general people, when it comes to a general people for their vaccination, the price may vary between 415 rupees to 475 rupees, Indian rupees. So with this, you will realize the importance of costing. Today, government is also of the opinion that the cost must be brought down. Now, today Serum Institute is selling those vaccines. We know that 5 crore, that is about 50 million doses, are already ready by the Serum Institute. The other vaccine is only for the emergency use currently, that is not being used for any kind of purpose. So we are considering the price. So that price of 215 to 249 as a price band which has been decided, that is being decided. I am proud to say you that after applying the principles of costing, and after applying those principles of costing only, this price has been decided. And I'm sure that in future, these prices will also come down, thanks to the cost accounting records and cost audit, which is prevailing in our country, who has been made this prices of vaccine, which is essential for every person, not only Indian, I will say every person in the world, it has to be affordable. I'll tell you, before I go to the presentation, I'll tell you one of the real-time story which happened in last 3 months. I can see many of you are here in the public place and wearing the mask. N95 mask was some of the, an important product which was getting sold in India, at the initial days of COVID-19, when we started with the lockdown. In the month of March, April, May, the N95 mask was being sold, especially in my state of Maharashtra, Mumbai, that it was getting sold not less than 200 to 250 rupees. I'm proud to tell you that I am the person and my friend who are involved into reduction of prices of this mask from 200, 250 rupees to today, you come to Mumbai, you will get N95 mask only at 40 rupees. And that is thankful to the principles of cost accounting and cost auditing, which has been followed by our state of Maharashtra. My friend actually went into various factories, various locations in and around Mumbai. We actually studied what are their material costs, what are their expenses, and from we derived the cost of 40 rupees, which has been now capped by the government of Maharashtra for the N95 mask. So I'm very proud that I am associated with such a profession, such an institution who is working in the best interest of the government, best interest of the consumers, best interest in the country as a whole. And as what I've given these examples for the pharmaceutical industries, there are numerous examples wherein we have been able to reduce the prices of those products. Of course, I'll not enter into those examples. I'll try to put up only pharmaceutical examples which are there. Now, when it comes to the cost audit of pharmaceutical companies, so that is where, it is not just a process. What I told you about vaccine or N95 mask was a one-time exercise which we did. But as all we know that, as the management progresses, the factories progresses, work progresses, inefficiencies are likely to creep into the system. And that is where the cost usually goes up. So when the cost goes up, it is, it is really needed for all of us, including management, that we should control the cost. So in India, we have created such kind of structure, like what in Bangladesh also. I'm very thankful to ICMAB for the publications which they had given to me when I had visited the same hall. I guess it was there when I visited, I think November or even prior to that, when our own Jagan Mohan Rao sir was the president SAFA, and I was there at your own building of ICMAB. Yes, I think that was the same hall which you have been showing. So I was on the other side sitting along with Dr. Jagan Mohan Rao to give a session on to the students. We had a very short visit during that time. But your people, your vice president and then president has ensured that we all traveled all the way from our hotel to ICMAB premises. It was early morning, but we went there, we had a small session, and then we came back for the further meetings. So the point which I want to make is, yes, that is what is the difference between our countries than any other countries which are there in the world. So by this way or that way, they are doing the audits, they are controlling the costs. But then for our countries like Bangladesh, India, Pakistan also for that matter, we have developed this mechanism of cost audit, and especially when it comes to the pharmaceutical industries, it is very much beneficial for all these three countries, especially to the consumers. Besides the Ministry of Corporate Affairs or the Companies Act, we have yet another regulator which looks after the prices of the important pharmaceutical products in our country, and that is known as a NPPA, National Pharma Pricing Authority. So in National Pharma Pricing Authority, you have to submit all your cost records, and you have to justify that why you have put up the cost of your products, which are especially essential life-saving drugs, which has been covered under National Pharma Pricing Authority, and all your cost records and cost audit, which has been submitted by the cost auditor to the Ministry of Corporate Affairs through now XBRL mode and everything. So that goes to the NPPA, and NPPA put forward all those records of various companies. They average out the cost for the various years, and accordingly they decide what should be the price of these essential drugs. I'm not saying all drugs, of course, but essential drugs which are life-saving drugs. And that is where is the success of India, that despite of having such a large population of 1.35 billion population, and as what we all know that not all of us are like US or UK who are living above a certain middle class, but we have very poor people also in our country. So for them, making it affordable, that this is what is the role of cost audit in pharmaceutical sector. And I'm sure that in Bangladesh also, if not today, in future, definitely we will take up those kind of role by the government. And we have our own institution, ICMAB, who will take up this cause for the understanding of that is government and how to control the pharma prices. Yeah. So sometimes online is something which is different. You feel that you are online, but just to deviate that, very difficult is sometimes you have online and you have offline also. I can see now offline also people are sitting there. So it's really exciting, this new phase in the life, unless we get the so-called vaccine and then get immune to the COVID-19. But it's really excellent to sit in your office and give session to so many people across the country, in your neighboring country. Okay, so we will move to the PPT now. Correct. Yeah, I think you should be able to see. Correct. So how much time we have? Can you just somebody tell me what is the time? How much time we have?
How much time allocated for him, Mr. Omar Farooq?
We can allow 1 hour, 60 minutes. You can.
60 minutes. Okay, great.
Okay.
So when I speak about the cost audit in India, of course, I know that the cost audit in India cannot be same to the cost audit in Bangladesh. But my intention of giving something about the cost audit in India in this slide is that we have participants today, about 200, 300 participants are there today, online and offline. So you can always compare that what is the system in Bangladesh, and if there are any improvements which needs to be done in Bangladesh, you can suggest to your government, or maybe if you feel that there are certain improvements in our systems which are required, you can suggest to us. We have always the exchange of thoughts between two countries anytime. So as the history of cost audit in India, it started in 1965. There were various committees which has been formed by the parliament in India. And then those committees has gone through various submissions made by various stakeholders. And what they realized, that was the year 1956, that was the year 1960s rather, wherein these kind of committees were formed. So at that point in time, those committees has observed that there are many lacunas in financial audit, and they won't be serving the purpose which is being expected by the India, which was there at that point in time. India was, of course, at the mixed economy right from the beginning, wherein we have opened certain sectors where we had closed, restricted certain sectors. So those kind of reports has been put up in the Parliament of India. If you wish to, you can Google and audit other than the financial audit which has been sanctioned by the that time the Companies Act. And that is why in the Companies Act 1956 there were two sections which has been added. One was popularly known as section 2091D, that is Companies Act 1956, that's not 2013, earlier act that was. So Companies Act 1956 section 2091D which has categorically stated that we should have the cost records to be maintained, which will give you per unit cost of material, labor, and all other overheads. So that was the specific wording of 2091D, which has been continued in the next Companies Act as well. And there was a section of section 233B, wherein it has been mandated for the companies to get their cost records audited by the cost accountant. So one of the industry right from the 1965, which is there in the cost audit, is the pharmaceuticals. The reason I did not explain to you that it's an important industry from the, at that point in time, of course, poor India, and even today, many people are below poverty line. So pharmaceutical industry is a part of the mandated cost audit since 1965 under Companies Act 1956. Now, what used to happen earlier is that under Companies Act 1956, usually government used to issue the order for the cost audit. So government used to say that this company which is manufacturing this product, then they used to give actual order to the company, sending it by the post saying that, okay, this company needs to undergo a cost audit. So as the companies used to receive the order from the government saying that their company has received the order, that they should they should audit the records of the cost which has been maintained by them under section 2091D. Now, after going through a lot of changes from 1965 to 2011, of course, many changes went through that. Earlier, we had many paras, 27, 29 paras were there, wherein we used to prepare the cost audit report and send it to the Government of India. And then later on, we changed it from the paras to the principle-based cost audit now, where we are right now today, is the principle-based cost audit now. We have paras, but then the records which were there earlier has not been mandated by the Companies Act 2013 nowadays. So there were major changes which came in 2011, which has mandated all the companies in the pharmaceutical sector to perform the cost audit who are having the sales turnover about 20 crore rupees in 2011. So 20 crore, of course, Indian rupees in 2011. So n number of companies which were actually under the ambit of, not under the ambit of cost audit, came under the ambit of 2011. But then we got some changes in the law, and from 2014, the limit for the cost audit of pharmaceutical companies has been changed from 20 crore now to the 50 crore. So there are various regulations of that cost audit and cost records. I don't want to enter into those regulations because you can just Google it and you can find it out. So we will focus more on the cost audit structure. We will focus more on the cost record structure rather than the regulation part. But as you know that unless it is being regulated and having regulation part, we won't be able to understand what is there in the structure as such. Correct? So there were major changes which came in 2011. And then in according to those changes in 2011, few changes came in 2014 also. And in today's form, whatever we see is the cost audit report. Okay. So one of the important thing which happened in 2011 was the cost accounting record rules. So what government did in 2011, which they abolished 3-4 years down the line because of change in the Companies Act. But the thing which happened, what we call it as a beautiful dream to our profession, which we saw in 2011, the cost accounting record rules. So government actually issued the record rules for about 8 to 10 industries in 2011. And for other industries, we shifted to the principle-based records and then audit thereupon. So in 2011, we had the cost accounting record rules for the pharmaceutical industry. Of course, now they are not in the place. After 2014, in New Companies Act 2013, that is, we completely shifted our focus to the principle-based accounting, that is cost accounting, rather than going for the format-based cost accounting. However, today also, this pharmaceutical industry record rules are very, very relevant. And many companies, we suggest that even though we are on the principle-based cost records, but still, especially companies, those who are covered under NPPA, those who have to submit their data not only for NPPA, but also for anti-dumping, we always suggest them that you kindly go for this cost accounting record rules, pharmaceutical industries 2011. So even though it is not mandated, we always tell them that you should maintain the records in that format. Now, what is that format? So I have tried to put up that format over here. Let me see if it works. It works. No, the technology is always dangerous. Sometimes don't know. In the trial runs, that's why clinical trials are important, isn't it? So I had a clinical trial in the morning. It worked. I was wondering whether my vaccine will work in the actual year. Finally, it worked. Excellent. So, yeah, we can go from beginning. We'll come to the formats later on. So I'll just tell you that what it was there. It was published on 7 December 2011. So actually it has mandated, why it has come up, because it has to be mandated by the statute. So that is why it has come now. It would be a little better. Correct. So they have given certain definitions. So if you go to this definition, you can see this definition. Correct. So where we have tried to, government has tried to put up various things into a definition, that what is bulk drug, what is formulation, all these things which has been, we say maybe loosely or maybe in general parlance, which has been there in the definition and interpretation. So today also, whenever any dispute comes about the whether it is a bulk drug, whether it is formulation or anything else for that matter, so we always refer to these rules, even though they are repealed now, but then their understanding of the rules is something which is still there. So what it says about the bulk drug, that it says any pharmaceutical, chemical, biological or plant product, including its salt, esters, stereoisomers and derivatives which are used as such an ingredient. So such or as an ingredient to in any formulation and shall include any bulk drug included in bona fide allopathic, Ayurvedic, homeopathic, Siddha or Unani systems of the medicine. So what is the important word here is used as such or as an ingredient in any formulation. So that is where the pharmaceutical industry is getting divided into. So one is the one who manufactures the bulk drugs, the one who do the formulation. So that is where the differentiation between the pharma industry is there. So in our popular terminology, we call bulk drugs sometimes even as a chemical, that we say that it is a chemical and that is the final product or a pharma product. But in technical terminology, it is bulk drug and the formulation. So here it is the definition of the bulk drug. Then we have certain other definitions so that we can leave out. Here it is. So important for us is the formulation. So formulation means any medicine processed out of containing one or more bulk drug. Now here you will understand the typicality of the pharmaceutical industry, that first what I have done is I have manufactured bulk drugs. Now I am manufacturing formulations. I am not very sure about what is the kind of the manufacturing is there in Bangladesh. But then whatever, of course, pharmaceutical is pharmaceutical. You manufacture in Bangladesh, you manufacture in India, or you manufacturing in US doesn't make any difference, because ultimately the world has become one place. So what is there as such in Bangladesh, I'm not aware. But then the idea of pharmaceutical is to first manufacture bulk drug and then manufacture formulation. And that is where the difficulty of cost audit begins. Because, okay, we'll come to that difficulty of cost audit later on. First, we'll go through the formulation. Formulations means any medicine processed out of containing one or more bulk drugs with or without the use of pharmaceutical aids for the internal or external use or in the diagnosis, treatment, mitigation or prevention of disease in human beings or animals, and shall include any medicine included in bona fide allopathic, Ayurvedic, homeopathic, Siddha and Unani. So the major portion, the important portion for us as a cost auditor is the medicines processed out of containing one or more bulk drugs with or without the use of pharmaceutical aids for the internal or external use. So what it has been given as a pharmaceutical, that is considering the whole pharmaceutical industry, which is now mix up of the bulk drugs as well as formulations. So what is there in the formulations, that with or without the use of any pharmaceutical aids for internal or external use for or in diagnosis, treatment, mitigation or prevention of disease. So we are not just saying that what is pharmaceutical or what is formulation that is only to be used in the actual treatment, but it says that diagnosis, it says that mitigation or even the prevention of disease in the human beings or animals. So we are not stopping the pharmaceutical industry only for the human beings. We have extended that to a latter part to the animals as well. So that is where the whole set of bulk drugs and the pharmaceuticals has been done. And the when I have to do an audit of a pharmaceutical company, why these definitions are important, even though today they are not in the actual operation as such, but then why they are important, because I have to first find out whether my company is manufacturing bulk drug or my company is manufacturing formulations, right? Okay. Now, when it comes to that, what is pharmaceutical activity? So you can always see what are all pharmaceutical activities. That means production, processing, or manufacturing of bulk drugs or formulations, and includes the meaning assigned to them under the DPCO, that is Drug Price Control Order 1995. You can ignore this part, as amended from time to time or included in Chapter 29 and 30 of the Central Excise Tariff Act 1985.
Ashish,
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Ashish, we cannot see the PDF. PDF is not opening here.
Oh, array. Just hold on. Okay. Now, can you see?
Yes, now we can see.
Oh,
Thank
I'm
you.
so sorry. You should have told me earlier. Nevertheless, I was reading the definitions of bulk drug and then formulation, and having read with that bulk drug and formulation, now we have come to the pharmaceutical activity. So what is there in the bulk drug and formulation, that is not important, but what is being covered in the audit, or rather what I have to do an audit, forget about the regulation part, but what I have to do an audit is the audit of pharmaceutical activities. And now what are those activities? That is production, processing, manufacturing of bulk drug or formulation, and includes the meaning assigned to them under the DPCO Drugs Price Control Order 1995 as amended from time to time. I was saying you ignore regulation part currently, or included under Chapter 29 and 30 of the Central Excise Tariff Act, and further includes the intermediate products and articles or allied products thereof. Now, the first part of this is production, processing, or manufacturing of bulk drugs or formulation, and includes and meaning assigned to DPCO. And then the most important part is the included under Chapter 29 and 30 of the Central Excise Tariff Act. Now, this act is important. You will ask me that, sir, this is your Indian act, then what is the importance of this act in Bangladesh? Because this Chapter 29 and 30 are popularly known as the harmonized system of nomenclature. Correct? So this is the harmonized system of nomenclature wherein your chemicals, that is the bulk drugs and pharmaceuticals, are covered in the that is the Chapter 29 and 30. So if you go to those Chapter 29 and 30 of a harmonized system of nomenclature, that is HSN system, in your country, that may be mandated by some other law or some other act. According to me, it should have the same chapters of 29 and 30. If the names or the numbers are not same as 29 and 30, maybe they may be having different names, but then this 29 and 30, whatever are the contents in the 29 and 30 has to be same, because on that basis only usually the exports and imports happens. Because you have to declare what is your HSN code, harmonized system of nomenclature code, and then accordingly you have to do export or import. In our country, we have to issue every invoice nowadays on the basis of this HSN system only. That is those chapter headings which are there. So these chapter headings are 29 and 30 as what I have mentioned. So there are further 6 digits also to these top 2 digits. So that 29 is primarily related to the bulk drugs, whereas 30 is primarily related to the formulations. Of course, there are certain other chapter headings also wherein we have other kind of chemicals, etc. However, primarily when we say pharmaceutical, purest of the pure pharmaceutical industry, they manufacture either in Chapter 29 or Chapter 30, right? So that is what is the pharmaceutical activities. So if we further go ahead, we leave this regulation part. So they say that you have to maintain the records, this, that, then forms of reports, audit, etc. So this is the form. And exclude this. So from here, the actually pro forma begins. Now I will tell you that this pro forma is beyond the boundaries. So it is not, maybe Chapter 28, 29 is having boundary, I will say bulk drug and formulation names which I took. Maybe there are different names in Bangladesh. You have boundaries. But when it comes to such a kind of proforma, which has no boundaries, because this proforma is applicable everywhere. If you see, it's a pure, simple English which has been written. And if you start maintaining records, those who wish to, they can Google and find it out. It is not that difficult also. So you can find it out on the Google. So these are the proformas which has been developed. I have no idea that what is there in the Bangladesh as such, whether you have specific type of proformas. If you have proformas for the records, then definitely you can collate these two, both proformas, and check that whether the proforma in Bangladesh and proforma in India are same, or if there are improvements which are required. Now we have repealed this proforma. We don't use this proforma anymore unless and until, except some companies, those who feel that for them maintenance of cost records is easier by way of this proforma, they maintain. Otherwise, we have repealed this proforma. So the good ideas from the proforma which has been developed in 2011, we still take. You can also take. So proforma, there are various proformas. So ABCD, FGH, like that. So you can go through this proforma. So what we will have first overlook of this proforma, then we will go to the further into the details of those proforma, maybe within 2-3 minutes, and then we'll go to the audit also, that how we do perform the audit of these proformas, used to do it earlier, and what are difficulties we face now. So proforma A is showing the cost of utilities like water and power, etc. So in proforma A, we try to identify what is the cost of utilities. As we all know, the importance of utilities, that is the cost of utilities, is one of the important ingredients in the pharmaceutical cost, that is the product of pharmaceutical cost. So there we will always try to find it out, that what are all costs which are associated with the utilities like water and power. So that comes to the proforma A. So after the end of the proforma, so if you see the proforma A, so if you see the proforma A, sorry, you may be writing something, but then I'm not able to see that. So if you wish to, you can just stop me in between. Right, okay. So if you see proforma A, this is where we are going to calculate the cost of utilities. It is not the cost of the product currently. Proforma A, which has been separately maintained to calculate the cost of utilities. So for example, electricity, or for example, in electricity also we have DG set. So what is the exact function of DG set? How many days it has been utilized? All these things which will come over here. Then we have water also, electricity, any other utilities which are there. There are a number of utilities. So there is a machine tool and so many other utilities which are there. So those utilities will come over here. And then their apportionment cost center wise will also be done. So once you find it out, how much is the total cost of that utility. So on certain basis, we will make the apportionment of those total cost of utilities to various cost centers. Now, when we come to proforma B, statement showing summary of quantitative details. Now, this is important. It says that the quantitative details of all intermediate or the bulk drug. We have already seen what is the definition of bulk drug. So, this is the quantitative details. So these are not cost. So that is the difference. So these are the quantitative details of the intermediate or the bulk drug. So what are all quantitative details? So if you go to quantitative details, you will see that how much is installed capacity, etc. Then how much is the ingredients or ingredient 1, 2 materials consumed, process chemicals, etc. Of course, I can understand that for a format, it is easier to give. But when my company is producing 6,000 bulk drugs, then how will I maintain the format? We have proper Excel sheets. And of course, whether it is vertical or whether it is horizontal, that doesn't make any difference. But the understanding of this proforma is something which is different. So there are various ingredients whose material process utilities which can be put up over here. And then that is, of course, that was, of course, quantitative details. And then statement showing cost of production. Now, earlier what we have seen in B is actually the quantitative details. Now, what we are going to see in B1 is the cost of production of intermediate or the bulk drug process. So here you will get all the cost which has to be put up. So here you will get name of the company, licensed drug and date, and then name of ingredient, bulk drug. So everything has to be put up over here. I'll tell you my personal experience that I know companies, and in various kind of companies also, we have actually developed, this Excel sheets by using various kind of softwares. So there are softwares which we have been using for, as what I told you, there may be, I know a company who is having 1,000 plus bulk drugs they are manufacturing every year. I mean, if I start maintaining records of this kind, I will complete the records only at the end of 5th year of the, once this year is ended. So it is not possible unless I develop certain techniques. So those macros are also developed by the companies to get those records in a specific format. So you have to just input the data into some or other sheet, and from there you will get whatever is the quantitative information or the cost information you have. So here I will bring down all the quantitative information which I have put up in the above para. So it will tell you what is batch size, number of batches produced throughout the year, then actual yield, standard yield, production. So while doing the audit, when I go through the records, I always ask a company that what is your actual yield percentage. So if your actual yield percentage without rework or with rework or whatever it is has come out to be say 92%, whereas your standard yield is expected to be 98%, then what is the difference between, why there is a difference between 92 to 98? That is our typical audit question. So our auditees are always, saying that, okay, sir, if the difference is above 3% or 5%, they know that I will come and ask them what if there is a difference between standard yield and the actual yield. Then as an auditor, as a cost auditor, it is my duty to ask them that why there is a difference. And if there is a difference, you specify the reasons for that difference. So as an auditor, if there are reasons which has been put up to me, if I am satisfied, then I will say that, okay, these are acceptable reasons. Otherwise, I will say that, okay, these are not acceptable reasons. So for example, I'll tell you that this year, 2021 is going to be a tough year for all. We all know the reasons for 2021 being one of the tough year. So as an Institute of Cost Accountants of India, we have come up with the cost accounting standards and cost auditing standards also, that how to perform the audit during COVID time. So those standards you can Google and you can check it, that those guidelines which has been issued by the Cost Accounting Standard Board and Cost Auditing Standard Board. But then this year, when 2021 will be finished, that is in our country, we have a April to March kind of a year. So our financial year, usually I'm saying, there are many companies who has a different year also, but 95% companies has a year of April to March. So once this 31st of March is over, I will find that the yield are expected to be really going in a different way. Remember that this is not efficiency, this is yield. So even though I have taken 5 batches this year, due to pandemic, my factory was closed for 6 months maybe, but then I have taken, though in pharmaceutical industry, this is vice versa. In our country, pharmaceutical industries had a very good time in the COVID period, because most of the country has given, all the governments has given a lot of support to the pharmaceutical industries, and they were considered to be a part of essential services, and they were working well in the essential services. So what I'm going to do is I will try to find out why there is a difference in the yield. I'm telling you that this time, the main reason for the differences in the yield is going to come up because I will be using a lot of alternative materials. In my standard yield, especially multinational companies, they have certain specifications. They might state that if my company is a German based, they will say that you have to import material from Germany only. Otherwise, you can't manufacture that product. But with the COVID situation, these people might, just to keep the business alive, even the German people might have changed their standards and saying that, okay, now you use the indigenous material. So there will be difference in the yield. So while doing the audit for the pharmaceutical company, I will definitely ask this question to the companies. There are works, reworks, there are reprocessing. So yield comes up, yield goes down. That also happens. But then that is one of the criteria what we usually see in the pharmaceutical companies. So we also have the cost information. So first what we saw was the quantitative information, and then we have a cost information also. So here we will try to bring all the cost information, which includes this, which includes what are all indigenous purchases, what are all imported purchases, the materials which we have used, and what are all the self-manufactured or the produced products or the materials which we have used. And then later on we move to the pro forma C. So here, statement showing cost of sales, sales realization, margin in respect of intermediate bulk drug process manufactured or sold. Again, remember that we are still at the bulk drug, correct? We have not gone to the formulation. So here I will try to put up what is the margin. So here, after having calculated the cost of production in the first earlier annexures, earlier paras, earlier proformas, then here I am going to calculate what are all other costs. So here I will put up what is opening, closing, what is administrative, selling, cost of sale, interest and financing charges. All this will come, and to finally, if there are any export benefits, and then total margin including export benefits. So that is how I'm going to calculate for the bulk drugs. Correct. So here it comes. Next one is the showing cost of production, intermediate bulk drug or formulation process on the job charges basis. So as we all know that the typicality of pharmaceutical industry, especially in India, which I know, I'm sure in Bangladesh also it will be same. Multinational companies do enter into your country, but then they don't manufacture on their own. What do? Is they outsource their manufacturing to a loan licensee or a job work basis, and then the job worker actually manufactures and sends to you, send you back. So here, what I am trying to save is my utility cost, my factory expenses. All these expenses are saved. So statement showing cost of production of intermediate or bulk drugs or formulation processed on the job charges basis. So there also, I will have to see that how much material I have sent to the job work basis, how much has been returned back, opening, closing stock, and then how much material cost, that is the conversion charges which I have paid to the job worker, and then finally to arrive at what is the total cost of those goods we have manufactured, whether it is bulk or the formulation. So the same can be used for the bulk drug as well as formulations, right? So here in Proforma E, we will try to find out statement showing allocation and apportionment of total expense and conversion packing cost for various cost centers. So it will be only for the this one, for the packing cost and conversion cost, etc. However, I'll take you to an important para, important Proforma. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So here it is. Okay. Right. So here's conversion and packing cost for various cost centers. So what I'm going to do here, if you come down from here, if you see, so what I'm going to do is, if you see over here, total expenses as per audited financial accounts. So I have certain utilities, production. So these are basically my cost centers. So if I have say 6 locations, I know a company in India who has, including job charges, that is job worker location, has not less than 85 locations. You believe me, they have total 85 locations where they manufacture. I have done audit for a couple of years for that company, and these 85 locations are really sweating. I mean, of which if 13 are own manufacturing and others are the job worker or the loan licensing basis, then you have to prepare these kind of things, these kind of tables, and that will be very useful to you, because if you see here, I'll put up the total expenses as per audited financial accounts. Then I will divide that into various cost centers. Of course, it is up to you. Here it is only for the representation purpose it has come up. And then finally to find out what is the non-cost expenses. So this is a kind of a matrix of the expenses, whether it is factory expenses or the even administrative expenses which are there. So this is a complete matrix which I prepare for every location, and I try to find out that where is the control of even the reconciliation. So here you will see exchange rate fluctuations, all these things are also there, which are not part of the cost record. So all these things will, will find their place in the non-cost expenses. However, my matrix ultimately should tally. So here it is, the matrix control or the total reconciliation control will be there. Here the total will come up, and then finally I will have the total control as well. So here I can put up the total control, reconciliation control, and profit as per profit and loss account will match. So what I want to do is this financial profit expenses, or whatever cost which has been expensed given in the financial accounts, ultimately if I add up all these things, all these paras, ultimately it should match. My matrix here should match with all my expenses in the financial accounts which has been given. Right. So that is how, that is where we prepare the various proformas. And then if there are any cost centers, those conversion and then apportionment to the various cost centers On the basis of labor hours also you can do. That is a very, very difficult job, that whatever factory expenses you have collected in various cost centers. So there are various cost centers, and above also we have seen various cost centers. So here, if within that cost centers also, if there are sub cost centers, there on the basis of, usually on the basis of labor hours, we apportion it to the various products, whether to the product that is the bulk drugs or the formulations, as the case may be. And on the basis of labor or machine hours, usually we do it on the labor hours. If you have ready-made data available in advanced ERPs, you get it through the machine hours as well. You can put up through the machine hours also. So that is how the way we prepare our all pro formas. Yeah. Correct. So statement showing the cost of production, cost margin in the respect of formulation. So that is what is same, what we have done for the bulk drug. Very similar there will be for the formulations as well. Correct. And then we have the capital cost of plant and machinery. So separate gross block and depreciation, all these things you can prepare. You can, you have ready-made, if it is available with you in financial accounts, you can just, add it up over there. And besides that, a final pro forma which we make is the statement of profit reconciliation for the company as a whole. We have seen that earlier also, that the matrix should match. So whatever are the expenses given in the financial accounts, finally should match in the cost records as well, that is cost accounts as well. So what we are going to do is, here we will try to find out how much is profit or loss as per cost accounting records, and that is for the product groups under rule. You can leave that. Product groups under rules or without rules, that's not important. So profit or loss as per cost accounting records, and then expenses which are not considered, incomes which are not considered. And the most draconian part of this pro forma is the overvaluation and the undervaluation of stocks. So if there are any overvaluation or undervaluation of stocks in the as per the financial accounts or the cost accounts, etc., so that needs to be put up over here. And then if there are any further adjustments, and profit and loss as per the financial accounts. So that is what is there. Again, I'm telling you that these are only advisories, not necessarily that you follow the same thing which has been given. You can change, modify as per your needs for your specific bulk drug or a formulation. But then the principle which is there behind maintenance of these records will remain same irrespective of international boundaries. That is what we have. I have a feeling. I guess I will have another 10-15 minutes, sir.
Sure.
Half an hour.
Half an hour, that's good.
You take the required time.
Yes, thank you so much, sir. These pro formas will not have the international boundaries. As what I told you, you can just Google it and you can take those pro forma. I will also share with this ICMAB, that's not a problem. But then you can definitely get that through Google. And my point was saying that these are principle based. These are not just as a pro forma, these are principle based. So if you go through those pro formas, you will realize that the logic behind those pro formas is very simple. And whatever you want to do as a bulk drug or as a formulation, that is pharmaceutical industry as a whole, you should be able to use this pro forma. Now, this is only for the cost record. So I have not yet touched upon the cost audit. Of course, we have to first maintain the record, then only we can do the audit. But then I know that many of our friends in our country also, and we are also help companies in maintaining the records as well. Correct. So what we are going to do is, once you maintain the record, they needs to be translated into various paras or the formats of the audit as well. So what we are going to do is, we are going to see the audit formats also. But prior to that, if anyone has really questions, I am not able to see any questions. We have some chat, but I am not able to see chat. Okay. Yeah, I think many of you are asking for the presentation and all these things. So officials will give you, that's not a problem. You can Google and you will get it. If you are not understood anything, you can just ask to me. I couldn't see any of such questions. Anyways, okay. So we will move ahead. If there are any questions, I'll take later on now. So these are the pro formas. Now we'll move to the, again, back to the PPT. I think I have to be careful. Can you see the PPT now?
We can see.
Yes?
Yes, yes.
You can see. Okay, okay. So now I'll go ahead. Slides are simple. I have not made it complicated. Now, if I go back, you see the cost accounting records rule 2011. That is the pharmaceutical industry. So what we have seen was the record rules. That is the cost records. Now, when I enter into a company, my job is to do the audit of those records. So what are all formats which are available for the audit of those records? So this is actually issued in the 30th June 2014 and amended from time to time. This is the latest file which I have taken. So you can see applicability of the cost audit in India. Those who wish to learn about it, they can learn about it. So there are table A and table B. I don't want to go into that because that is Indian regulations. It is available freely on the Google. If you Google it for India, you can definitely get it. Of course, I'll share also with that. So these many industries are covered under cost audit. And of course, I'll take you to pharmaceutical. Where is pharmaceutical? Here it is. So I'll just tell you about table A. Table A, these are called as the regulated sectors. So as we all know that in India after 1991-92, we deregulated many sectors and only few sectors are now under regulation of Government of India. So these 6 industries, that is the telecommunication, power, petroleum, pharmaceuticals, fertilizers, and sugar and industrial alcohol are in the regulated sector right now. And one of that regulated sector for which this session is scheduled is the drugs and pharmaceutical. And where it is covered, how it has been covered, it has been covered under the HSN system, that is Harmonized System of Nomenclature, which is that is called as a chapter 29 to chapter 30. So of course, we don't use all these subheadings in the chapter 29 as what you can see 2901 to 2942, and for the formulations, it is 3001 to 3006. So wherein this drugs and pharmaceutical industry is covered. Besides that, there are non-regulated sectors also, which we will not touch upon. Right, so there are applicability of cost audits. As what I stated to you, just to the brief, 50 crore plus turnover is considered as a part of regulated sector. So the companies who are in the regulated sector, any product covered in the regulated sector and crossing 50 crore Indian rupees, of course, turnover, then they fall under cost audit. And any company who is having 100 crore plus turnover in the non-regulated sector, they fall under cost audit. So that is what is the regulation part of cost audit. So what we have done, as what I told you earlier also, that cost audit of any company for that matter, not just pharmaceutical company, but for that matter, any company, we have issued, now we don't do don't maintain the records as per the formats which you have seen earlier. So those proformas from A, B, C, D to GHI, etc., what we have seen, those proformas are no more applicable currently, but what we do is we maintain the record on the principal basis, that is the cost accounting standards. I know in Bangladesh also we have very much cost accounting standards in place. I personally have, your institution has gifted me books on the this cost accounting standards. So they are very much there, but what we have done is instead of calling them cost accounting standards, we call them as a CRA1. So within CRA1, there are total about 29-30 which are records, which are cost accounting standards that has been covered as a principles. So here it is all the principles which are covered. You can go to institute website. So there on the institute website, you will get everything. Our website of icmi.in is our website. You can go there and you will get everything which is available. Now, last one we recently added is the unit of measurement 31 in 2018. And then we have a CRA2, that is the form for the appointment of auditors. So we can skip that also. So what is important for us is this, the form of cost audit report. Now, our intention is to understand the cost audit in pharmaceutical industry. So I will just go through this form CRA3. So here, this is normal auditor certification. In your country, it may be some different wording. But then the logic is same, that I first certify, and then there are some annexures to cost audit report. So these are the annexures to cost audit report. So that is the part A. Part A1 has something which is part A1 is the general information. So wherein the name of the auditor, their firm, the name of company, and so many things which are there. In part 2, general details of the auditor, that what is the date on which you have been appointed, our registration number, then by which order you have been appointed, so membership number of signing reports. So all these things are there in part 2, A2. And then we have A3. A3 is known as a cost accounting policy. We all are, related with one of the sport, your country and my country, and that is cricket. So, when we play cricket, what we say that once you, your leg before wicket is you are out, you are gone. Or maybe once you hit for a boundary, once reach to that specific place, you say that it is 4 runs, 6 runs, like that. So what we have done as a sport, what we have done, that we have defined certain rules. There are complicated rules. I know that someone has stump out and now third umpire and this and that, that's okay. But then we have made out certain rules, and on the basis of those rules, we play the game. What is my cost accounting policy A3 is what is the rules of the game. So that is what is my policy. So here I will identify that what are all the rules of my game. And then accordingly, I will ensure that all my next paras are prepared. So these rules needs to be followed. So what is the logic of these rules? That if there is any change in the rule next year, then it is expected that you have to disclose that there is a change in the policy. And then you say that because of changes in the policy, this is the difference, and so on and so forth. So in popular terminology, cost accounting policy, we call it as the games of the rules of the game. So these are the rules of the game of my cost audit. Now here it is product, service, and the details. So here I will try to put up, this is popularly known as A4 para. So whether it is pharmaceutical company or any other company for that matter, while doing the audit, I have to ensure that the total of my revenue, including exceptional, extraordinary, and other comprehensive income, has to match with my financials. So there in the A4, I make first the matching with the financials. So there are many other products. So the difference between what is financial and costing is, of course, I do this here on the basis of the SETA basis, that is the harmonized system of nomenclature, that is 29 and 30. So if you see para 4, that is para A4 of various pharmaceutical companies, they have those HSN, that is the SETA heading. So here it is CTA or the SETA heading, which is there. You forget about our regulation, whether you call it as a SETA or CTA, but that is same. So here I will put up 2901 if my products are under 2901. So all system of 2901 will fall under this one. So if there is a 2902 for pharmaceutical, if it is formulation 330, 3001, 3002, like that. So here I will have those kind of, so 1, 2, 3, 4, and so many others. I have seen, personally, I have seen it goes up to 100 also sometimes. Not only in the pharmaceutical, if the company is manufacturing something else also other than along with pharmaceutical, it reaches to 100 also sometimes. So it is very difficult job. And then once you're done with the A4, we come to the B for manufacturing sector. We have part C also for the service sector, which will skip since we are into pharmaceutical and pharmaceutical industry today. So for manufacturing sector, part B is the quantitative information. So here I will try to find out the quantitative information. Now, what happens in case of pharmaceutical industry? The typical question which comes to your mind is that I have to find out what is the available capacity. Now, the question comes in case of pharmaceutical industry. When I go to the industry, when we do the audit, especially first, second year, they are not bothered. They don't know, first time they are doing the audit. Of course, we have good companies as well. There are more good companies than the ignorant companies in India, especially in pharmaceutical cost audit when it comes to. So they tell me that what is my install capacity. So, when I go and ask them, what is your install capacity? They go to some technical guy in the company, in the factory, and then he gives you a very huge figure that he says that, oh, this is our install capacity because we work in 3 shifts, we work in this and that, and we have those vessels, and then why not? whatnot. We have a lot of labor, this, that. However, they forget that their install capacity is completely a technical job. And as an accountant, we have to rely on various technical certificates. So once they give to install capacity as a technical certificate, because ultimately, when I get the actual production, I have to make the I have to make the comparison between what is my install capacity and what is my actual production. So if we see actually pharmaceutical companies, their install capacity is always very high. But if you see their processes, because they have a lot of sometimes waiting time, their batch changing time is also quite high. You have to clean up the vessels. You have to clean up so many things. You have to change the batch. If you are changing the product, then there are even more issues. So their capacity utilization, if you go here on the screen as a point number 4, capacity utilization, you are seeing my PDF, no? Are you able to see my PDF?
See, we can see.
Yes. Last time I remember. Okay. So if you go to point number 4, capacity utilization, there I will try to put up that what is my capacity utilization, that is actual production compared with the available capacity. So there the board of directors always ask us the question that why it is low, why it is up. So usually in pharmaceutical industries, you come what may, never crosses about 60 to 65% is the maximum which I have seen. Maybe what I have not seen is a different case, but then maximum I have seen 60 to 65%, which is, they say that it is good enough to have the 60 to 65% of the capacity utilization. So in the pharmaceutical industry, okay, one more thing which comes into my mind is this. Through the leasing arrangements or through the loan licensing. Now, what happens is, as what I gave you example of a pharmaceutical company in India, which has 85 locations, of which 13 are the that is own manufacturing locations. Rest all are loan licensing, maybe exclusive loan licensing or maybe partial loan licensing. Such a big company, they usually prefer to have. Consider it that the exclusive loan licensing is there. Now, the question which comes to your mind always is that when I'm having the exclusive loan licensing kind of a arrangement, then what should be my capacity? Because if say I am manufacturing certain amount, for the time being, we take it for the simple evaluation as 100 kg, too small, but then say 100 kg. So if I am manufacturing 100 kg from a loan licensing or a third party manufacturer, the question comes that what is my capacity? Because I'm manufacturing 100 kg, his own capacity may be 500, 600 kg, we do not know. He may be operating at 20%, he is profitable at 20%, I am happy, he is happy, I am sending him material, he is sending me back for the conversion charges, that's okay. But what is my capacity, which I should mention in my cost records? So there we used to have it. What we do usually is, suppose I am getting 100 kg manufactured from a specific loan licensing, and then he sends me 100 kg. So I say that my capacity of the same is 100 kg only, and then I got 100 kg, that is my total production or whatever has been supplied by that is produced on the leasing agreements or the loan licensing or the job work. So here my capacity utilization comes out to be 100% only. So when it comes to a loan licensing, for me it is important that how much I get it manufactured from the loan licensing, and that it will come as 100%, right? But when it comes to your own manufacturing, as what I told you, 60 to 65% is very good for pharmaceuticals as such. And then besides that, without going ahead, I will tell you that this is quantitative information. We have not yet come to the cost, correct? So this is all quantitative. So whatever I am mentioning here is in quantities. Nothing about the rupees or the Bangladesh taka, nothing, right? It is only on the quantitative basis, not on the amount basis. So besides that, I will also try to find out that in my quantities, that how much is my total finished goods produced, of which how much are the domestic, how much are the imports, how much are the total finished goods produced. So of course, that is for the third party or directly purchase from elsewhere. We have businesses wherein, I'm manufacturing certain vials, certain tablets, but my capacity is not sufficient enough. Even my loan licensee says that he can't manufacture, he doesn't have that. So what do? I actually import it from the my parent company. So in market, when the product goes, nobody knows that whether I have manufactured in India or whether I have been imported. Of course, we have strips and it has been written on the strips as such that whether it has been manufactured or imported. However, for the costing purposes, for me, it is very important that I should find out the difference between this, that what I have manufactured and what I have purchased. A loan licensing is different. What I have manufactured, self-manufacturing is different. And this is I'm directly purchasing, directly importing from my parent company or somewhere else or whatever it is. And then I will also try to find out that what are all my actual sales. So here, my actual reconciliation of quantities happens. Now there the real challenge stands for the pharmaceutical industries, because ultimately there are different kind of reports. If you go to a various ERPs, I will not name any ERP, you know, in your country, you might be using various other ERPs. So within that ERP, you have lot of quantities or lot of records of the quantities which come. So for example, I'll tell you, in our country, we have indirect taxation. You may be having zakat or similar kind of taxes in Bangladesh. We call it as a goods and service tax. So we get one sales register. So what is sales register is where actually sales which has been made. So we take one sales register in one of our in our audit, and we say that, okay, for this sales register, very nice that you have done this much of sales. We also take whatever has been exported goods. So there are various documents which says that which are related to the export of the pharmaceutical product. So we take those things also. We try to reconcile that whatever are the other documents related to export which are there, and then we try to reconcile and see that whether out of the total sales, the total number of products which has been sold, which are in line with the other documentation which is available for the export. So those kind of reconciliation is always going to be difficult. So for example, and the difficulty arises, as my practical experience, I'll tell you, the one which I told you here, that the finished goods produced and the self-manufactured or maybe third-party manufactured. So these companies, what do they do is, see what is expected from the audit, that I will tell you. What do they do is the same product they are manufacturing in India, maybe in your country, correct, your own country. Whereas same product, they procure it from outside as a finished product only. Now what happens in that case is very simple. The product code which is there in your ERP, makes the difference between whatever is there in ERP for the self-manufactured and for the imported product. So if there are same product code, then your total costing goes for a toss, because ultimately what you manufacture in your industry, in your country, whether it is India or Bangladesh, it has to be less than whatever you import from outside, wherever from you import. But then what happens as a cost auditor, the challenge which you face, the data which comes to you, they say that during the year, these are the sales or these are the total sales of this product. And then when I ask them how much is your own manufactured, how much is your loan licensing, and how much is your imported, if any, then they fumble there. Then they have to find out the records of import separately, records of loan licenses separately, and then what remains is the self-manufactured. And that is where the role of auditors comes into picture, because ultimately, as a cost, when whatever you give, whether it is to the National Pharma Pricing Authority or very similar kind of authority in your country to decide what is the price of that specific product, then at that point in time, whether this product is imported or whether this product is produced indigenously, that is something which is going to make the huge difference. And that is how the cost audit plays a very, very critical role, that you have to ensure that what is separate so that your cost is reduced, so that it helps your government to decide the pricing, because ultimately the self-manufactured, as what I told you, should be the less. So having seen this,
yes, so we can see.
Yeah. So yeah, so this is part B. Now we'll go ahead to the part B2, right? So here it is, the B2. Now here, what we have done in the part B1 is purely quantitative information. What we have done in B1 is purely quantitative information, whereas in B2, we are going to see pure cost information. That is in amount of rupees, taka, or whatever you say. That is purely on the cost information. So in this cost information, here I am going to see total materials consumed, processed materials, and so many other things. So what I am supposed to do is, from the records, whatever are the records maintained by the company, whether on the principal or whether on the format basis, for each and every product, those records needs to be converted into this para. So this para is expected to be prepared, that is called as an average cost statement for the each product separately. Now that is where a bigger challenge arises. We have seen in the HSN system 2901, 2902, 3001, 02, etc. Here, when it comes to a production, when it comes to a para B2, I am expected to do it for each and every product. So if company has maybe 5,000, 6,000 products, all of them falling under one single chapter heading, one single 2901, all bulk drugs, but still, what is mandated is I have to do a costing of each and every product. Now, what is that each and every product is whether I have own manufacturing, whether I'm loan licensing third parties, or whether I'm importing the same. So it is expected that I should do a costing of each and every product manufactured at various locations. So for example, 85 locations, it's impossible, but then for 85 locations, I'm manufacturing only one product. Then what is expected from the rules or what is expected for the government is that for each and every location, how much production has been done and what is the cost of each and every product is what is I'm supposed to identify in this para B2. Correct. So that is what is the B2. This is one of the important paras in the cost audit, whether it is pharmaceutical or otherwise. And then this is called as the averaged cost statement. Right. So here you will find that very similar to J, what we have seen earlier. So here it is the cost of sales, margin, everything will flow over here. And up to the cost of production, here it is up to the cost of production is here. So total cost of production is also here after the adjustments in the stock. So cost of goods sold is also here. So that is how we calculate the average cost statement for each product. So there are certain notes also. Separate cost statement shall be prepared for each CTA heading representing the product. So every product we will have to do it, right? And besides that, most challenging and most important part for pharmaceutical industry also is to find out the total materials consumed. So what is total materials consumed? What we call it as a top 10 production. So for each and every product, now that is where the challenge for the pharma industry is very much there. If you go to other industries, maybe the ingredients are less. Now here the challenges lies. Because what is going to happen is, when I say that the details of all material consumed I have to give, you see the pharma industry, the typicality of pharma industry, that all the ingredients, I use it for the manufacturing of bulk drugs. From bulk drugs, I manufacture formulations, which is available for the final consumer as a consumption. Now the problem arises in toppest of the best ERP. The problem arises is the conversion of raw material, conversion of bulk drugs into the final products, because these bulk drugs which you are manufacturing is either used into various products or maybe in a one single formulation product, I use 10 bulk drugs. So the things which comes up, that is most difficult part of this is to get the description of material, because I'm not expected to give you the description of the material as a bulk drug. I'm supposed to give you the description of the basic material. So whether it has gone through a bulk drug and then to a final product, or whether it is just a bulk drug, this product itself is a bulk drug. So that is where the challenges arises about the quantity reconciliation. So here I am going to put the quantity and rate and the amount, everything, whatever I have put up in the details of material consumed. So here I have put up the details of material consumed. So here it is says material consumed in para 2A in pharmaceutical. Of course, here the 2A details of material consumed. So all these details I have to give in pharmaceutical, as what I told you, that's a hell lot of job, because ultimately getting those quantity reconciled is very difficult. So as a firm, I'm saying as a firm, as my personal experience, we usually accept. What happens is, I'll tell you, most of the multinational companies, they pass their records on the basis of standard cost or the standard consumption. So they have been given a lot of standard consumption for a specific product. So after a lot of calculation, you find out what is the actual material consumption. Because in the financial accounts, in our country at least, which I know, that they will always put up certain variances in financial accounts. So they will say that purchase price variance, or this write-offs, or the bad debts, or write-offs, or maybe some kind of write-ups like that. Main important is, of course, the purchase price variance. So what happens in that specific case is you always get the variance, whatever is given in the standard and whatever is given in the actual. Financial account helps you very minimum to that extent, saying that we have put up everything under purchase price variance. So whether it is quantity variance or whether it is price variance, everything has gone under the purchase price variance, and then total cost has come up in the financials. We are happy. Our financials are closed. Side directors are happy because there is a profit. But costing doesn't demand you for that. Costing says that whatever is your actually bills of material and actually your consumption, because your bills of material is on the standard basis, whereas you have to find out how much is the actual. And then if there is no reconciliation, or maybe usually you get difference, there is no doubt that you get difference. So as a firm, as an individual, we have set up a limit as a materiality of 5%. That if there is a difference of actual and the standard is above 5%, we reject those material calculations. We either tell them you redo it, or otherwise we will have to give an observation or a qualification in the our audit report saying that this material consumption, this variance is much higher as compared to standard, so that the company directors are aware that maybe their purchase price variance is for some or other reason, but then what is happening in actual products, especially in the pharmaceuticals, that has to be recorded. I'll tell you my personal experience just a month back, that when I reported that the total variance is actually 4.5%, we said that we have accepted as per our standard. Our directors withheld the report. They say that we still have 1 quarter due to extension. The 1 quarter audit report has been extended. They told us that you take this 4.5%, and as an auditor, as well as company people, you please reduce this 4.5%. They wanted to see product wise that why it is 4.5%, because for some products it was crossing 11%, some products it was 1 or 2% like that. So finally it ended up with the 4.5%. So our report was withheld for almost a quarter. Then in last month it has got approved, finally, saying that okay, now they were satisfied that when I gave them the therapy wise that what is actually variances between various standards and actuals of the quantitative consumption only. Forget about price, because price they say that is not in our hands. But then quantitative reconciliation by way of taking bills of materials was a tremendously difficult job, which we did. So that is all where we put up the materials consumed. Then we have utilities consumed also. As you know that utilities are quite important. However, okay, so however, utilities you can calculate as what I told you. Even electricity, I remember 1 or 2 cases, generator which has been used by the, of course not pharma, but some other places, that since they are utilities, that generator cost, I know per unit it was coming very high. We have to report to the management that it is coming very high. They found out the reason why it is there. Then they actually have to purchase the smaller generator because depreciation cost was too much and the electricity was restored well in that area. So all these things do happen when you do the audit. Then rest all the things, I think that what is profit reconciliation we have seen in the earlier proformas also. Then we have certain other audit paras, that is value addition, financial position. These are general paras, so I will not touch because our today's topic is more into the pharmaceuticals. Then we have a lot of related party transactions that also needs to be reported in the cost audit report. And then we have reconciliation of indirect taxes. So forget about those, are not much relevant to the our discussion as such. Can you see the PPT now?
Yes, we can see.
Yeah, so though I have not started with my last slide, this is my last slide. I always wanted to start with the last, saying that these are the points which I want to cover in the pharmaceutical cost audit. But then by way of showing the various proformas and paras, etc., I've tried to give justice to all the points. We have seen how we calculate the raw material consumption, because ultimately what happens is the raw material consumption given in the financials has to match with my costing records. So I have to see that whether there is any difference. Earlier we have seen quantitative reconciliation. Then in the RM consumption also, if there are any PP write-offs, etc., I need to call it back. And then finally to see that whether my raw material consumption in financials finally matching with my costing records. Then we have all other locations, LL, factories. So all these things are very much there. Then capacity, as what I told you, we have a specific constraint of the license capacity also. It is there in the paras as well. So what is the license capacity? Is because various pollution control boards, in India we have a lot of pollution control boards. I'm sure that in your country also there must be having some kind of similar arrangement. So those pollution control board actually give you the certificate saying that you can produce only maximum up to this level. So when we decide the capacity, we have to take into consideration the license capacity as well. So that is what we take, sometimes even install capacity, when you can't calculate install capacity by way of any normal or technical calculation. So there we take the certification given by Pollution Control Board. Then, as what we discussed, the top RM details, which are also important, because ultimately why top 10 RM details are important, and why industry has a some kind of resistance, because they always feel that when you give top 10 RM details, that will actually disclose their recipe to everyone, that this is how we manufacture our products. But then that is where as an auditor or as a maintenance of record, you have to manage, saying that if there are top 10, then many companies in pharmaceutical especially, and chemicals as well, that they come to us and they tell us that, boss, these are the top 10 materials. We don't want to give these top 10 materials. So what we will do is, we will give you top 3 or top 4 materials, and all other our important materials, or maybe our specific recipe which is there, we put it in the others. So that kind of request also comes while doing audit for the pharmaceutical and the chemical companies, when we are asking for the top 10 materials. Besides that, there is a costing policy also, as what I gave you example of cricket, that these are the costing policies. So whenever there is a change in the costing policy, we put up down in there that there is a change in the costing policy as such. So for example, I'll tell you that one of the company which we audited, I think 2-3 years back, we were actually going for the labor hour basis only. But then their management was changed, their ERP was changed, and so many changes took place in the company. And then when we went for the audit at end of the year, they said that, sir, we have stopped taking the labor hours or entering labor hours anymore into our ERP. Now we go only by the machine hours. So I have to actually calculate the previous year numbers with the help of the machine hours as well. And then we have to calculate what is the cost of previous year and current year, because both are ultimately should be matching with each other. A specific example in the pharmaceutical industry, then BOMs is something which is very important for the pharmaceutical industry, as what I told you, that for the calculation of RM or quantitative reconciliation, BM bills of material plays very vital and important role. And the factory expenses, we have seen that matrix as well. So if you follow the matrix, whether it is pharmaceutical or otherwise, but I'll tell you, for pharmaceutical, that kind of a matrix seriously works very nicely. If you have that matrix in place and tell your company that you maintain records as per that matrix, your factory expenses usually match with your financials. And if there are any here and there ups and buts, that is what is, you can definitely find it out in factory expenses. And all other paras, as what I told you, I don't want to touch upon, they are more or less of the Indian regulation or Indian, kind of a thing. Maybe there are value additions or other paras which are there. I will ask our other speakers next week to come, where they will also cover the valuation, that is value added, and the financial position paras, that should help even our friends in your country to get exactly what is value addition out of the work of the cost audit. So that is what is finally. So I think I have tried to give in the reasonable time to come up to this of the pharmaceutical industry. I think we have open for questions. So if you can pronounce the questions, okay. Otherwise, if I could see it, I will take.
Thank you very much. One question is, can you define the bulk drugs? Bulk drugs.
So yeah. So it is given in the the definition itself, which was given here. Here it is. Can you see my PDF?
You can see the PDF.
You can see the PDF. Yes. So here it is. The bulk definition itself is given. So usually whatever we use in the formulation as the chemical or API, active pharmaceutical ingredient, so that is what is called as a bulk drugs. So as a definition, you can consider it as a definition. If you don't have any definition in your country, you can adopt this definition. There is no harm. Okay. Any next one? I hope I have satisfied the question.
Right. One said, if any company has less cost accounting records or incomplete records, and there is no standard of costing for any company, where how the cost audit will be happened effectively over there.
See, that is where the
Because
skill.
companies are not prepared.
See, that is where the skill of the auditor comes into picture. So, what we do is actually say, if I am appointed for a company in our country, what happens is, if I am being appointed for the year, say 2020, so say 21-22, correct? So, for the year 21-22, if the audit is to be performed, then my appointment should happen in 2021 itself. So 2021, I come to know that what is my turnover, and on that basis, I'm getting appointed in 2021 for the audit of 21-22. So what we do in that case is, for the whole 21-22, we give them support. Correct. So it's a top. I'm not putting anything under my, in my pocket, saying that what we do. Then we definitely give support. We definitely charge them also. That because if they are first time coming under the audit, it is very difficult for them to maintain the record, and especially your ERPs. If you go to various types of ERPs, I have handled not less than 10-15 types of ERPs. None of them gives you the report, none of them gives you the data, whatever you want for the cost audit. And that is where the professional opportunities which are there. There are cases, since this question is relating to that, there are cases in the past wherein we have actually qualified the report, where we have stated that we can't do anything, or if you put some approximation, you go to the your cost audit report, you actually give the qualification and you tell them, since boss, you have not maintained the records, we can't help it. I'm telling you, the moment you tell your company directors that you are going to qualify the report, they immediately come after you and they say that, okay, fine, we will collect the record for the previous year. For the next year, possibly, we will have better systems in the place. And this happens with when there are changes in the ERP from the basic accounting, you go to some ERP accounting, when the companies do happen those kind of things, wherein you get no record sometimes. That is what is a usual experience which we have. So you have to qualify the record, you have to qualify the report, you have to say that these records are not maintained, and for getting variances, you mention the variances, that 5%, 10%, 12%. As what I told you last time in one of the PSU, of course not pharmaceutical, one of the PSU, where I went and I said that, okay, they said that, sir, don't give qualification. I said, okay, we have observations which is to be given. So I give observation that 8.8% is the difference between standard and actuals. Believe me, the board meeting was scheduled after 1 week. These people worked overnight and they have found out that there are certain write-offs which has been hidden into some accounts. Then they called for that. I called for the actual records, and then that 8.8 actually came down to somewhere 3%, etc. But otherwise, they were not giving any seriousness unless and until I put up in the observation that there is 8.8% variances. So that is how things happen. Correct.
Okay. Should the cost auditor only see the costing, or they should see the quality also? If they see the quality, to what extent they should go for?
See, quality, I did not understand the meaning of quality, but then what I understand the meaning of quality is, what is the quality? See, when it comes to a quality of records, that is very much in your hands. When it comes to a quality of product, that is very much not in your hands. So what is the quality of product? Unless and until product gets the market outside, and they said that whatever it is the quality, they are getting market, so that is good enough for companies to survive. So I'm not understood the question, but what I understood is the quality of a product, not quality of the record. So quality of the product is not at all in my hands. My job as an accountant, as an auditor, as a cost accountant is to see what is the cost and what is there. So I'll tell you, since now you have raised the quality thing, I'll give you a different angle to that. Our Ministry of Corporate Affairs has issued a comparison of the various SETA headings and their cost margin as well as their cost margin as well as their selling prices. So this is an official record of Ministry of Corporate Affairs. You go to mca.gov.in, that's an Indian government site, mca.gov.in, wherein in the cost audit branch or maybe into various places, the report on the cost and the prices, cost and the selling prices of various companies has been put up. It's a huge, big report of about 25 MB or 45 MB like that. And you can go through the cost, margin and the prices of various chapter headings, because what we submit to the government, as what you have seen, it is through the chapter headings. It is not through the products. So there maybe you will have some comparison of quality, because as my quality goes up, maybe my prices also goes up. So there you may compare it with the quality that, when many of our clients ask us that report, that what is the comparison or consolidation of that report, then we tell them, see, your selling price is 42 rupees, whereas the average selling price is 62 rupees. So why it is the difference? Maybe your quality is less, or maybe you have to increase the price, or whatever it is. Maybe you are selling different products. So that is where we get the help from those kind of reports given by the Ministry of our own Ministry of Corporate Affairs.
Okay, all our members and students are so they are so enjoying the our session. Your session. You have shared all the knowledge, very typical knowledge in a very easy way, and they are asking for the materials, the PDF, PPT, everything. I hope you will send the materials to our institute. To the right, and they are asking for a dummy audit report so that they can practically exercise the audit report in their home or office. Is it possible to have a dummy report?
Dummy report, yes, it is possible. You have to give me some time, because as you know, the data is very confidential. So I have to take some precautions before giving you dummy report. I will definitely share. So what I will do is, in the next session, next Tuesday, which is to be arranged by the our own Neeraj Joshi is having session, I think on 12th of January. This is a good friend of mine because we discussed with each other. So I will ask him to prepare one dummy report for you. I think his industry is different, but I will also give him my dummy report to him. So by next Tuesday, you will get the dummy report of pharmaceutical industry as well.
Oh, okay, thank you. This is a very, I found the cost audit in pharmaceutical sector is very vigorous, very laborious, very sincere job. So what is the basis of remuneration? How much I can charge? This is a huge job.
We are a close community, so I have nothing to hide from my professional secrets as such. But then when it comes to a pharmaceutical industry, I'll tell you difference between the heavy engineering. As what you said, it is laborious. When it comes to a heavy engineering, job is simple, because they manufacture heavy engineering. Go to construction. My construction clients are having two projects, one at X location, one at Y location. So for me, it is very easy to make the cost audit. But when it comes to pharmaceutical, very laborious. I agree with you. So in that case, when it comes to a remuneration, somewhere that skill you need to apply for. Now, since you have asked for the remuneration, I'll give you a simple example. I need not tell you I'm hiding anything. You go to Google. Google.com is friend. Maybe you get Bangladesh Google. You have to search for some India Google. I don't know how do you do that. You can. Our members and students are very smart. You go to any company, any pharmaceutical company in India, which is listed company. Of course, not pharmaceutical. All companies, those who are covered under cost audit, listed company, and you go to their annual report. So recently, 1920, many of the companies has finished their annual, listed companies, so definitely has finished. So you find out some good names of the companies. You go to their annual report. We have a system, we have a regulation in India that your remuneration has to be declared in the annual report of the company. So rather than I am telling you what is my remuneration for pharmaceutical companies, you better go and check that how much is the sales turnover of a company and how much is the remuneration. I have nothing to hide from you that it is much, much lesser than what laborious job, what we do. I agree with you, GM Omar sir, but then, ultimately, whatever experience you get, exposure you get in that industry, you can gain further jobs in the company. So for example, I'll tell you one of the professional trick which we use, that when we do an audit report, at end of the audit report, we give them a report saying that this kind of costing exercise you have to do quarterly. So companies, board of directors who are multinational companies, they are much, vigilant. And if there are certain issues with the profits and margins and etc., they always ask us that whether your record maintenance will help us quarterly to gain the margin. We will tell them that you will have information that this is the margin of this product, this is the margin of this therapy, or this is the margin of this factory or the loan licensing location, etc. So they are very happy to come back and say that, okay, fine, you do this job quarterly. So that you can do this job quarterly, and you can tell that, of course, it's extra job than audit what we are doing. Of course, that should be chargeable accordingly. So even if it is laborious, it gives you a lot of opportunity. When you do an audit in pharmaceutical company, I'm telling you that you will be able to do audit in any sector, because the way number of products, pharma and chemical especially, if you have the number of products of pharma and chemical, the complexities of various location, loan licensing, import, sales, standard quantities and actual quantities, such a big thing of pharmaceutical industry. If you can do it for the pharma and chemical, you can do it for any industry in the world. Forget about India and Bangladesh, but any industry in the world. Because I have not worked only in India, but also worked abroad, that what kind of costing records even the Middle East people maintain and what kind of costing records we Indians maintain. There is a huge difference. We are much ahead of even Middle East, and I have been working as a consultant to Middle East companies also. So I know there is very much a difference. Even though that is laborious, that gives you a lot of knowledge for sure, sir.
If there is any wastage and we can sell the wastage and have some fund, whether it should be treated as other income or deducted from the raw material cost, sale of wastage.
See, now what happens, you have seen our formats. So where in the format of A4 as a wastage or the other income. So because in financials, it is treated as a other income only. So my sales total, it will go as the other income only. But when it comes to a costing, you have to see that what kind of wastage it is. So if it is a wastage very much related to a specific factory or a specific loan licensing usually they take care of themselves, but then specific factory or a specific part of it, yes, we reduce it from the raw material cost. When we reduce it from the raw material cost, if you have seen our matrix, ultimately our matrix will match. Because in financials, whatever is the cost has been given, if I say that these are to be deducted, then from the financials, that will come as a non-cost item, and finally my matrix will match for sure. So what is that nature of other income? If it is wastage, then you consider there are so many other incomes as well. So what we call it as a other operating income and the other income. So there are two different things. In other income, we have a lot of other income like exchange gain or losses or maybe of that kind. But when it comes to the other operating income, so that is maybe wastages or the sales of scrap and etc. is covered. However, in pharmaceutical, it is much lesser. In chemicals, we have more sale of the wastages as well.
Yeah.
Now our session chairman will, Mr. Ruhul Amin, FCMA.
Thank you, Mr. Prakash. The Bangla meaning of Prakash is reveal. And I thank you very much. You have rightly revealed the procedure and ways of maintaining the cost accounting record rules and finding out the real cost structure. So I must thank the audience. In this chilly night, it's winter evening, the audience is very deeply and very, minutely listening to your deliberation.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much.
I thank you all.
Thank you.
And I heard about Prakash, Mr. Prakash, to my president, Mr. Akant, Jashimuddin Akant. He spoke very. I've listened to you, and you did a wonderful job. And you should come to our institute and teach us the more and more about the procedure and costing system in the country. There are a lot of questions we had, but due to a paucity of time, the audience is keeping quiet. But I believe when you are in Dhaka, they will learn more from you. And we have one mouth and 2 ears. So you spoke 1 hour, so my audience will question you for 2 hours. So we need a complete session of 3 hours.
Yes, sir.
So I hope that you will come to Bangladesh, Dhaka, and you will educate us. I have seen India started cost audit in 1965 under the Companies Act 1956. That means 48 years before us. Like we started our cost accounting record, the enactment was done in 2001 under the Companies Act 1994. So you are our parent. So we deserve to learn more from our parents. And with this end, I want to end because of the chilly night, but I like to tell one thing, that pharmaceutical industry is a gimmick. There's sometime I was involved with the pharmaceutical company, the Chemico Pharmaceutical. I was the deputy managing director of the company's, one of the sister concern, Excelsior Shoes, for quite a long time. And I was in charge as a managing director. But no one want to reveal the cost.
Cost, correct.
They don't want to reveal their cost. Because in some drug, in some item, in some product, they make profit even 1,000 times. If the Taka 1 is your costing, material cost, they put on 1,000 Taka. Why? Because there is no competitor. So it's very difficult to build the cat, to make our pharmaceutical owners to make a cost audit. Because to my perception, cost audit is an investment. It is really not a cost. It is not an expense. So this, I don't know how far you could convince the Indian entrepreneurs, but it is very difficult in Bangladesh to convince our entrepreneurs that it will bring in efficiency of not only in your management decision making, also in cost efficiency. Because the people who are deciding what cost should be there, managerial cost should be there, and they make some cost, and there is no audit of that cost. I mean, whether I personally, as a managing director, I have spent some money, I have expended some money, I bought some machineries, and you see, and it was not audited. I think the audit should be for the efficiency of the management also, not only cost. So a cost auditor, he is not only determine the cost of the product, he also determine the cost of the person behind the cost decision. So there are a lot of things we can talk and we can learn through our mutual discussion, and whenever we meet together. So with this few words, I want to conclude my speech, and I want to hand over the mic to my learned president,
Learned moderator.
learned moderator, and let him finish the program for tonight. Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot to Dr. Ashish.
Yes, thank you so much, sir.
Thanks.
My pleasure.
Thank you.
Wonderful discussion
Thank-
and very thoughtful delivery.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Session Chairman. Sometimes moderator also we learn it. I learned it from here. Really, I learned the session from the session. A huge information you have shared. I believe definitely all the viewers, our student members, and whoever is has participated in this program, they have enriched their knowledge regarding the pharmaceutical sector, and hope they can contribute in their practical field and to the economy of the country. And hope in future, Mr. Ashish will be physically here, and he will physically take some exam of us, whether we can understand the
God is great.
pharmaceutical
Don't
sector,
go.
and we can prepare the right cost or accounting records for the pharmaceutical, right cost audit reports, and to contribute to the economy and the country. Now, and I would like to request Honorable President of the Institute, Mr. Mohammad Josimuddin Akan, to hand over request of the Institute to the session chairman. Mr. Josimuddin Akan, FCMA, to Mr. Ruhul Amin, FCMA.
Mr. Moderator. Mr. Moderator, Farooq,
Yes, sir.
can I ask a question, an informal question to Ashish?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
My just curiosity, is there any role of the consumer protection right groups to do the cost audit in the pharmaceutical industry in India?
As such, there is no role, but they have a pressure for sure. Because as what I told you, NPPA, National Pharma Pricing Authority, which regulates the prices of pharmaceutical products in the country, which are more into the life-saving products. So if you go to for example, even AIDS or cancer, or there is oncology, those type of products, which has been sold in our country are regulated by NPPA. So consumer protection or the consumer groups has definitely a lot of pressure on the government. However, it has never came up to a surface that yes, we want to do it. Yes, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Next time you will visit our
Thank you,
institute.
Mr. Ashish.
I was planning
You
to
all are
come.
waiting for welcome in Bangladesh.
I would love to
After
come
COVID,
back to Dhaka. Dhaka is a
thank
very
you for
beautiful
coming.
place. I had been there.
And really, we are grateful to you.
Yes, sir. My
Really,
pleasure, sir,
we
to
are grateful to you,
interact with.
as well as your institute, your president. My respect and regards to you, and your presidents also,
Thank you,
and
sir.
your council also. Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Thanks. Good night. Good night,
Good night.
everybody.
Take care. Good night.